Wake to celebrate. Hello and welcome to Roundtable Talk number 7, celebrating the Plomin Hard Fork. Today with me, we have a panel of amazing individuals, all governance champions. And I mean, one of the best things, the most important things here is that we have a whole era behind of us. And I really would like to take the opportunity today to go through different facets of what we've left behind of us, but also reflect and look forward to what's ahead of us. So today with me, we have Beatrice, we have Jenny, Einstein, Hicks, Jack Briggs, Phillips, Ken, and Nicholas. Thank you all for joining. And Michael Madoff just joined. Welcome, Michael. Welcome. I just want to give you all the opportunity briefly to introduce yourself to the viewers. Beatrice, can we start with you?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Bea, and I'm a part of the Cardano Atlantic Council, which is a part of the current interim constitutional committee.
Thank you. Jenny.
My name is Jenny. I've been around the community for quite some time. I'm also in the Cardano Atlantic Council with Bea, and I've worked with everybody here in one way, shape, or form. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
I'll try to keep it short. Øystein Hansen. I'm in Intersect Civics Committee and Intersect Constitution Council. Look forward to this talk.
Thank you. Hicks.
Hi, I'm a member of the Cardano Japan Council as a Constitutional Committee. And also I'm one of the SPO and also CF ambassador as well. So, thanks.
Thank you. Michael.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Madoff. I'm the Group Product Manager for Governance at IOG, and I started the Voltaire program here. And I'm also a member of the Civics Committee with Einstein and Nico.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jack. I'm Ecosystem Director here at Intersect, the member-based organization, or a member-based organization for Cardano.
Thank you, Jack. Philip.
Yeah, hi. Phil Lewis here representing the Eastern Cardano Council. We are an ICC member. Our members represent Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Australia, and New Zealand, and we're looking to expand that soon as well, hopefully, to get a broader reach across our region. I'm also a member of the Intersect Steering Committee as well.
Thank you. Ken.
Yeah, I'm Ken Ladd. I had the privilege of being a delegate at the Constitutional Convention in Buenos Aires, and then serving on the Committee of Delegates in cooperation with a bunch of subject matter experts to work on definitions, work on the accompanying papers with additional context, and whatever other work that we're undertaking.
Thank you. Nicholas.
Yeah, my name is Nicholas Czerny. I'm the governance lead at the Cardano Foundation, and I'm also a member of the Civics Committee and an observer in the Budget Committee, and part of too many working groups, probably.
Nicholas, thank you all for joining us here today. And I mean, when I think about celebrating, let's say the era of Voltaire, or celebrating the Plomin Hard Fork, there's one question that comes to mind, right? And that is, what does the Plomin Hard Fork mean for Cardano's identity, values, and future as a decentralized, community-driven blockchain? I'm just putting that question out there for all of you. So who would like to go first?
Can take a stab at that?
Go ahead, sure.
So today I woke up as a torchbearer of what decentralized cryptocurrency means. And why do I say that? I took some time yesterday to reflect. That's why I look a bit sleepy. Like, it was really such an amazing moment. I looked at the constitution draft that the delegates approved and what we have there, and you talk about identity. Well, what we start with in the preamble is really about identity. We talk about following in the footsteps of the early internet and cryptocurrency pioneers. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to do more than just be a decentralized money system. We're actually becoming a decentralized system for how all of it evolves, how we develop the roadmaps, how we decide to distribute the treasury of the fees, everything. And that's such a huge responsibility and so exciting at the same time. I truly believe that we now are probably the torchbearers of what it means to be a decentralized blockchain. So we have a huge responsibility in showing the rest of the world, like, what really does that mean, and making sure that that doesn't fail as a project. So I'm going to try to give it my best and making sure I'm a part of that system and that it succeeds. So it means everything to me. It's a chance to make something better than we had before. It's making a system that's more fair. We have currently one ADA, one vote, but we are also having a tri-party system. So we're balancing that, and we're going to improve it even more going forward. So it also means to me, this identity means like we take the wisdom of what was from the past, what the early cyberpunk movements did, what the early digital pioneers did, and we keep evolving it, and we keep taking it further, and we keep exploring this idea and making sure it goes to somewhere and as far as it can go as an idea. So yeah, it's really a momentous day today. It's more than I can describe in words, but it's really special day.
Thank you so much there, Einstein. I'm going to pass the torch on to someone else. Who'd like to follow up on this, or share just your perspective on, what does that mean for you?
I'll say something.
Sure.
If that's cool. Well, I guess this hard fork was like the first, we could say it's the first community-led governance action that we've had. A lot was done by the community to get this to where we are today. I lived it firsthand. There was so many community, like the community was hands-on on this hard fork, which is in contrast with all the other ones. It's definitely noticeable. We moved faster. We all felt part of it. And it's already a testament of what we can do in the future, right? So that right there on its own, it's a huge accomplishment. And yeah, this is the first step towards the promise of a self-sustainable, autonomous system where we're going to be able to manage ourselves, to learn how to do this and teach the rest of the world that it can be possible. Super excited about this. This is why I'm here. This is why I poured my heart and time and everything into this ecosystem for the past years. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm already living it. It's here, guys.
All right. Thank you. I see, Nicholas, I'm pretty sure you have something to say as well. Love to hear from you.
Absolutely. I mean, I got goosebumps when Einstein was speaking, and it's right. This whole journey, this governance transformation, I think many of you have been on this journey since the beginning, right? In 2022, when the CIP 1694, which defines this governance model that we now fully implemented, right? That was released back then. And it's been just, while you're on the journey, right? You sometimes don't realize how many things are changing and what's really going on, because it's just so stressful. And there's a constitution, then there is the first Cheng hard fork where the bootstrap phase is turned on, right? And we have the first governance actions. And now, year of the snake, 29th of January 2025, and we're here. We reached the end of the initial roadmap of Cardano, right? If we think about the 5 main eras, Byron, Shelley, Gauguin, Basho, and now Voltaire. And let me tell you something, it's not just the end of the roadmap, it's the beginning of a new one, right? Now it's up to the community. Now it's up to the token holders to decide what's going to happen. So everyone that participates in Cardano in one way, shape, or form can now also decide the future of where we're going. And the best thing is, right, whatever challenge is now in front of us, we have the means to actually overcome them. Because I'd rather much be part of a community that can together make decisions than only rely on a few elite, I don't know, developers or whatever that make decisions, right? So it's really now up to us to make it. It's a huge responsibility, but everything that I've seen now over these 2 years or more in governance, and even before that in the community, makes me so confident that we got this, right? The SPOs. I mean, I just looked at it now. 710 SPOs participated in the voting for the hard fork. So I know that there are some multiple operators, so you can't really say it was 710 individuals that voted, but just the fact that 710 unique pools participated in a governance action is really like, it's really amazing to me. And from here on, right, it's just gonna get better, in my opinion.
Totally agree with you there, Nicholas. Absolutely. Beatrice, I'm pretty sure. I mean, we spoke earlier, about this question, and I know for a fact you also you'd love to share your opinions on that, please.
Well, the best way that I've been trying to explain to the general community of what has happened is, we are CTOing the Cardano, or CTOing Cardano because, it's a community takeover. And that's, a lot of people might look at it as a negative thing, but I think it's very beautiful because now, as Nicholas said, we are the ones steering the ship, right? And I put an analogy a few days ago where I was scared of how this hard fork was going to go, because now our child Ada is, moving out, going to college, and she's going to be on her own. And who's going to take care of her? Well, we have to be able to trust our Ada to understand what she needs to do. And we've spent so many years preparing her for this journey. So I'm very emotional, actually. I'm very happy we are able to be at this moment and together try to make the best out of our child data, what we've been given.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and it's okay to be emotional because it is a massive achievement. Not only for one individual but as an entire ecosystem. We've accomplished something that, not many have attempted. And we are right. We should rightfully be proud of that. But I also want to hear from you, Ken, please.
Yeah, there's so many positive directions, and it's hard to forecast what this will look like in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years, 10 years. But I'm confident that all the work that went into setting up the structure, right? When we say constitution, that's what a constitution does. It sets the constitution of the governance system. And so we have this, 3-branch government, and we have these guardrails set into place to provide a forum for all of the inputs from the community to go in through it and have outputs that are greater than the sum total of the inputs. And so this decentralized decision making is going to manifest, and we're going to see what direction it goes. But it's good to see all this work coming to fruition, and it's exciting to see which one of any number of possible positive directions this ends up going.
Absolutely right. Seeing all these works finally coming to fruition. Absolutely, I totally agree with you there. Phil Lewis.
Yeah, look, I've always been confident that we would achieve this right from the start, because I've said this before, the founders of this project weren't just building tech, they were building a culture. Cardano has a rich culture of wanting to embrace a professionally built blockchain. It's not hype driven. It's about doing the right thing to enable access to this tool for everybody. And so I was always super confident that we would be able to pick up this responsibility and take over. And I also want to remember, obviously, that this hard fork was remembered after Matthew Plomin, and I think he epitomized community, and I think it was perfect that that it was named after him, because this is the hard fork that enables the community to take over. And that's what Matthew was all about. Oh, we don't have stablecoins on Cardano. All right, I'll just get on and do it. And that's been Cardano's culture. We just get on and do things. And now we're free to do that. And there's no constraints. So I love it.
Wow. You just said here, we're about building tech. It's not only about building tech, but also building a culture, and you as all part of that culture. I can imagine, that this is also part of our identity as well, being proud, to be part of that culture. Jack Briggs.
Yeah, thank you. I was a bit euphoric yesterday, actually, last night, watching it sort of come through. And I've been, like Michael, I've been on this journey with him as well in the past. So it's been a long road, and I've just been incredibly, I'm always humbled, not surprised, but always humbled by how we get this stuff done, particularly the hard fork itself, right? If you remember, there was 2 hot fixes. This is over Christmas. There was, just incredible, actually. I can't believe, I was worried that we wouldn't get it done on first go. And if we didn't get it done on first go, well, that's actually part of also the design itself, that we can go again and reevaluate. But the fact that we did do it in the first try was just super impressive. And more impressive, actually, and this is just Cardano's nature, this speaks to Phil's point, that I checked in with the technical teams this morning, and there have been no issues at all with the switch over. So to Bee's point, I was a bit nervous as well. I saw her posts coming through like the days before the hard fork, before the epoch crossing, and I shared her anxiety as well. I've been anxious for a lot of time, for literally the last 2-3 years. I've been super anxious, but we've done it. We've made it happen. And I think the next biggest things now are everything. Quite literally everything is on the table now for the future here. And, we're starting that today. In the next 2 or 3 hours, the delegate endorsed constitution will hit mainnet to be voted on by D-reps in the ICC in the next few hours. So this doesn't end. We're not taking a break. We're talking here that it's all, we're really proud of each other, and I definitely are, but, we're going to be proud of each other again and again and again, because we're going to make it work. So yeah, I'm just really, really excited, dare I say bullish, on live stream for the future of Cardano. And just lastly, this is why I joined. This is why I bought ADA in 2019. This is why I came onto the sort of Voltaire program as well. And I'm now here at Intersect. This is exactly why I left the legacy systems behind me, because we can reimagine things here. And the fact that we've got liquid democracy, we've got this tripartite system, as you mentioned, it's just innovation at every single level that we could ever possibly imagine with this design. There's no layer one quite like Cardano, and that is something to all be very proud of.
Wow, rightfully said as well there, Jack. Absolutely. I want to move on to Michael Madoff. Before we hear Michael Madoff, we will touch, Nicholas, you mentioned earlier about the roadmap, and Phil, you also mentioned about Matthew Plomin. We will touch on that in just a short bit, but I'd love to first hear from Michael Madoff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think echoing kind of what everyone said, decentralized governance has always been the promise of Cardano, and now seeing that promise fully realized is just incredible. And to Jack's point, when we were putting plans on the whiteboard for Voltaire in 2022, it just seemed impossible that we were going to actually accomplish this in the real world. And alone, we definitely couldn't have accomplished it. It was impossible without all of the input from everyone in the community who's contributed the time and effort to it. So I guess first and foremost, I wanted to thank the countless members of the Cardano ecosystem who've stepped up to participate in governance, from D-reps to interim CC members, constitutional delegates, so many others, can't even think of to name. And it's been a monumental effort from everyone across the globe to reach this milestone. From a Voltaire perspective, we're 99% of the way there. Once we have the Constitution ratified on chain, we'll have a complete governance system in place. And really, this hard fork is the culmination of many years of careful and deliberate power transition that's been happening really over several years now. But yeah, all governance action types enabled, DREP voting turned on for the first time. It's really the point at which the responsibility and stewardship fully in the hands of the community. So just thrilled to be at this point.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hikaru Hicks, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm just a bit kind of two emotions coming out, and like as a ADA holder, it's a very historic moment, and I actually didn't really believe that could be happen in 2025. It's like a really continuous, really long road to achieve, and but in the same time, as a CC member, I need to think about the history of the human history. I mean, it's just like central government, complete infrastructure for years, and then after the industrial revolution, then we gonna have the ecosystem expansion. Then the central governments became much weaker than the ecosystem players. And I think Cardano is now entering the same path of this kind of evolution. So because of that, I expect I believe that Cardano ecosystem will grow more than ever. This is something really celebratable, and but at the same time, we must be very careful. I think history shows us that democracy doesn't guarantee the decentralization all the time. Even when powers is decentralized, some players always find a way to decentralize it. They try to collect their powers all the time, even in the democratic countries. We have seen the examples where the once decentralized power became centralized again, leading to the collapse of nations. Even in the modern U.S. governance, we've seen how certain political movements try to centralize their governance power, bringing us dangerously close to the world. We are actually gonna see the same those overs 1984, just half a years ago. And this is not just about the politics. We have lots of AIs and financial services, artificial identity, something like that. We have those technologies can be tool of centralization. So even today's most advanced democracies, are not safe sometimes. And Cardano is no exception. If we look at the delegation now, we can already see how power might centralize again if we don't really, stay mindful. So I really have two emotions in mind, and I actually really need to really careful about the centralizing risk even in our liquid democracy. So, but in the same time, we can now stakeholders can freely access to the governance, and we can get to our ecosystem much bigger and stronger. So
Correct.
yeah, something like that. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Hicks. And I think we do have to be mindful, that we don't fall let's say, into the same trap as the legacy system. So we all have a responsibility to take care of that. Phil, you touched earlier on Matthew Plomin, and I'd love to really just stand a short moment still at Matthew, because you cannot celebrate a Plomin Hard Fork without really standing still at the person, whom the hard fork has been named after. So we all know that Cardano's hard forks are named after influential figures. What I'd like to know is, what is the significance of Matthew, and why was this name chosen for this particular milestone? Who wants to explain that? And I'm pretty sure everyone will have a different perspective, but sure, who would like to go first?
I can say something about that.
Sure.
Yeah, Matthew was a community friend, a colleague to many, and when his passing came completely unexpected, which is I heard the same that happened with Phil Chang. Apparently, it was very unexpected as well. And you touched on mindfulness, right? And I think they both share that quality. For what I've heard, I've never met Chang, but I've taken the my time to ask people who gotten the chance to know him as well. And it makes sense, right? When Matthew passed, it was such a painful moment, and for a lot of people in the community. And I feel like it was important to keep him alive in such a difficult time that we were already going through. And having him at the forefront was like a way to remind us to keep on pushing through and be mindful on what is it that we are here to do. And I think it couldn't have been more fitting. Everybody felt like it had to be done. It was the time, the moment. We had the opportunity. We had the governance action to do it. And it was just very Matthew style. I mean, I've gotten to know, throughout these years, I got to know Matthew pretty well. Since he showed up in the community, and he was always so inquisitive, and he wanted to learn, and he wanted to get involved in everything he could. And as soon as he heard somebody with an idea, he would reach out to them. It's like, why don't you do it? Why don't we do it? And it was just such a spirit that he had to himself of just, let's just get it done. Who's stopping us from doing it, right? So yes, I think that spirit was just there, and we needed to keep him with us. And that's why Matthew is it's embedded in this hard fork, because he truly represents that spirit of perseverance, like making things happen, taking things into our hands, not asking for permission, but actually doing it, and look at everything that he accomplished. We hosted a space when he passed, and it was incredible to come to the realization that how many people got to know him for who he was, right? That means he was so influential and so unassuming at the same time. I couldn't believe how many people got to know him the way I got to know him in their own different aspects of Cardano. So yes, I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful tradition. All the hard forks have been named after people that have been, significant to those working around this. So I'm very glad and it just got a testament to what we're here to do, right? This first community-led action and fork, and it's Plomin is there. So it's just we'll have a lot of stories to tell in the future for people, for sure.
Yeah. I also think I want to add a few words, and it goes to the thread I started with roots. So there was already previously a hard fork called Vasil, and it was after Vasil above, and he was like tinker, like a planner, and he planted these ginkgo trees and watched them grow, and he would have been so proud of where we are now. And it's so fitting that for every of this stage, like it feels like the Cardano community is like a big family, and we are like lifting each other up. Like if something happens, we manage to honor them, and it's such a fitting moment for this era where we need the doers, the people who come out, and that's how I envision Matthew, like a real doer. I had the honor of having some interviews and working a bit with him, and he was such a doer. And that's what I heard from everyone else talking to him. And that is so fitting with how this has gone, like the different eras, and how Vasil was this tinker and watching all this grow, and now Matthew symbolizing this era. So yeah, is what I wanted to add to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that I think is really cool about the naming of this hard fork in particular is that it came about organically from the community, and it came about through the on-chain governance system that we had developed, without even having this purpose in mind. Someone proposed naming the hard fork after Matthew as an info action, and then the community came together to ratify that. And so it was very cool to see the governance system able to reflect the values of the community so directly and naturally in this way. And I think that was something that's particularly special about it.
Totally agree with you there, Michael. Absolutely. Jack, did you have the pleasure of meeting Matthew before?
Yeah, I did. I met him a couple of times at a couple of events, and we had some cool chats. But ultimately, there are many more community members that I've had a lot more detailed conversations with Matt, and I didn't know him as well as many of you guys on the call here. So I'd be doing a disservice to honor his legacy by not knowing him as well as everybody else. So I won't. But with Phil, just quickly on Phil, I think what was quite nice about the naming of Phil, and I worked with Phil directly with Michael for a little bit, and he was a technical architect, and so I felt like that was quite fitting of the entrance to the technical bootstrapping phase was named after Chang. It felt very fitting to what he contributed to in the early parts of the governance design, and then wrapping out with Matthew on the final sort of intra-era hard fork, which just happened yesterday, I think was just great. And I think when it comes back to the culture side of things, just to sort of wrap this up, this is part of Cardano's culture, and for me at least, that we mobilize the Hard Fork Working Group. The first thing on the agenda for the Hard Fork Working Group, here following the news of Matthew Plomin's passing, was to rename and get a governance action submitted to get the community to agree this. That happened in I'm sure it was 24 hours or 48 hours. It was rapid, and we mobilized and got the action online. And I think that, to me, really was the litmus test on the strength of our culture and being able to come together. So, yeah, I mean, echoing everybody here, but yeah.
Yeah, and I share that sentiment as well there, absolutely. Let's move on to the other topic, because
Denise, can I say something real quick?
Of course,
I just want to send some love to Jill and the family. Yes. His wife and kids, beautiful family, and Jill is still around, and you can find her. She's not going anywhere. So the whole entire family is part of Cardano still. So just want to send love to all of you.
Thank you, Jer. Thank you there, Jenny. Thank you. The Nicholas, you mentioned earlier about the roadmap, and I'm just going to ask, can we bring up the roadmap on screen? Because I do believe that if you're celebrating, let's say, not the Plomin Hard Fork, but also the era of Voltaire, you cannot pass by without reflecting on where we came from, on our history. And which one of you would like to carry us through Cardano's history, just by showing where we came from and how we got to where we are today, just by walking us through the eras and how those eras helped shape how we got to where we are today?
Yeah, I'd be happy to give it a try. And please, if I make a mistake, someone please jump in and save me. So as I said before, right, we had these 5 main phases of Cardano. So the initial roadmap of Cardano, as you can see right now on the screen, 5 main phases. And the first one is the Byron phase, the foundation as it's called. And here, beginning in 2017, when Cardano was founded, when the network was started, right, it was all about establishing the Cardano blockchain, and at first in a federated network, which also included the initial distribution of ADA. And then, right, a bit later, so in 2020, officially we entered the Shelly era with the Shelly hard fork as well. And there, I mean, you could say, and you could argue, was Shelly the more important hard fork or now the Plomin hard fork? I think both are equally important. But what Shelly really brought was the decentralization of Cardano itself. So it was this transition from the federated network to a decentralized one, operated and run by stake pool operators. And then, right, it was possible that that stake pools came up. People were able to delegate their ADA to these pools, and we saw basically Cardano transition from this federated to a decentralized network. And then after that, the third phase of Cardano is the Gauguin phase. And Gauguin, of course, was all about smart contracts and enabling smart contract functionality, so make the in the EUTXO model really relevant. What this brought with the Alonso hard fork as well and the Mary hard fork was so Mary brought native tokens. So thinking back, I think it was 2021, and that's
March,
when NFTs
2021.
March. Do you want to talk about that a bit, Jenny? Because
but
I
know we remember that.
Yep, I remember all of these NFT projects.
After, but that was the fun days, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So Mary was in March 2021, and then Alonso was September 2021, I think so. And that enabled smart contracts, right? And then we also entered the Basho phase. So with the Alonso hard fork completed, we entered into this Basho, and it was all about scaling, improving performance, scalability, and interoperability. And as mentioned by Einstein, we also had the Vasil hard fork in 2022, which was about optimizing, as I said, the network efficiency, if I remember, some Plutus updates. And then, of course, we entered the Voltaire phase, the age of governance, or the age of Voltaire, however you want to call it. And here, the focus here was about implementing decentralized governance through community decision making. And it's great that I can now finally speak about it in the past tense because we officially completed it, right? So this was a short summary of the initial roadmap. And now it's up to all of us to decide how the future roadmap is going to look like. And
I'm going to bump in here and correct you a little bit. Because
I
think this was originally how we envisioned it, going through these different eras and getting to Voltaire eventually. In practice, that's not how it happened. And I think we learned a lot of lessons in that. And I think we can look at each of these different, quote, eras more as pillars than eras. So in that regard, you could say that Mary kind of had more to do with Byron and just regular transactions and how people send money and how you have value on a system and whatnot. Whereas with the smart contracts, I mean, a lot of the things we did in Basho, or a lot of the things that we're calling Basho, are really just iterating on Gauguin. And then Basho, you could take like the stake pool pulsar. How many people were around when we first did the hard fork and took D to 0? Anybody on this call around then? Remember the 5-minute break we had basically waiting for something to make a block? That was because massive calculation had to be done. And we basically solved that by pulsing that over 48 hours time. So that you can call that part Basho, definitely. But I think if we look at these more as pillars, we don't have to get rid of these. We can continue focusing on these. And it's like, oh, this new thing we're developing fits into this pillar. And then if we have a new pillar, we can create a new person associated with it and whatnot in the future and expand on it. But I mean, I think none of these are actually ever done. They all basically are continuously going to be evolved, especially Voltaire.
So they're like unlocking eras. Is that what you're saying, Sam? Like we unlocked them, but now they're open.
They're unlocked, but they're still being continually
achievement unlocked.
Yes, achievement unlocked.
Levels on the game. Levels on the game.
So that's kind of my view on it, that we need to stop looking at this as we're going to do this next, then this next, then this next, then this next, and kind of look at the overall strategy of these are all the things we care about. These are the things we value. And we're going to do this thing because it fits in this bucket here. And this really benefits the ecosystem because we're doing this particular thing.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, especially if you think about more like the subheading of each of these phases, right? So scalability, I mean, in theory, it never ends, I guess.
Yeah.
And same with governance improvements. I mean, I'm also now looking at Einstein and Michael, right, we have quite a few ideas in the civics committee on how to change or improve things for governance. And I guess the same is right for also the foundation of the network itself. Even there, you can still make improvements. So I really like this, Sam. Yeah.
And like
the thing I like,
we had Mary basically introducing native assets. Now we're talking about programmable assets. Yes, they utilize smart contracts to do that, but is that really considered part of computing, or is that something that you hold value of? If you have an RWA that's in a smart contract, are you saying, oh, this is improving Goguen? No, you're probably going to say this is improving Byron. This is how we interact with each other, how we transact with each other.
Wow.
I think the challenge we have now as well is that each of these pillars apply pressure to each other as well. So, if we want to improve scaling, how does that impact decentralization? Similarly with governance. So this is part of the challenge, is to continue to uphold these pillars and the pressures that they apply on each other.
You could arguably even say this is like the pillars of why this will become still liquid democracy. So, for example, take the governance phase, like Hicks touched on this, but like if we have a constitution that's not alive in the people and people are aware of it, then it doesn't matter. So Voltaire is going to be an ongoing process, and updating and making sure people are aware of this and that people are active in the governance system. It's going to be ongoing forever. So I really like that viewpoint, Sam, as pillars. It's truly is pillars of this.
It's funny how we summon Sam when we were talking about this. He's just showed up.
Exactly. Guys, while listening to Sam, it kind of brought me back to that whiteboard video from Charles back in the day.
Yeah.
If you really kind of like rewind, go back then and see that vision that was painted on that whiteboard, and you look to today, what we're witnessing, if you ask me, that's something to be proud of. Because we've seen a lot of that come to fruition. We've seen a lot of that implemented.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not a whole lot left on those whiteboard videos that hasn't been done yet. There's a few things that are like getting close to coming to fruition, like interoperability. That's a big one that basically we're not quite there yet, but we're getting really, really close to it. I think Bitcoin DeFi is really going to prove that interoperability layer significantly. But yeah, I mean, you look at those videos and it's like we're almost at a clean slate now, because all that's been checked off, that's been checked off, that's been checked off. Okay, where do we go from here now?
Exactly. Just for the sake of time, I do have some interesting things here on my agenda. With the activation of the 7 governance actions in SIP 1694, how will these new tools, let's call that new tools, shape decision making and power dynamics within the Cardano ecosystem? I'm looking at the whole group because you all have a lot of knowledge on this. So how do you foresee that changing the power dynamics within the Cardano ecosystem?
Maybe I could have a quick stab at this. I think we've already seen it, actually, since we launched the whole sort of program and we hard forked into Chang. We've seen community tools popping up left, right, and center. We've had the fantastic CGov tool from Mad Orchestra. We've got tools that Tempo Vote are developing rapidly. And so I feel like we're now with Cardano and fully and firmly in the hands of the community, innovation is following. And we're seeing that just every single week. There's a new app, there's a new feature deployed on some tool, and it's just so rapidly expanding that the conversations will be disparate, of course. We're a decentralized ecosystem, so there's never going to be a place where you are going to get quick consensus unless it's a very obvious thing, like the Plomin Hard Fork and renaming was pretty obvious for everybody, and so that was a rapid thing that we all mobilized on. But ultimately, we're so decentralized that we have thousands of leaders, and this makes it difficult to have these conversations. So I I feel like the community here are going to be pragmatic ultimately at the end of the day, knowing that 70 to 80% is good enough. And that 70 to 80% good enough means like a lot of progress. So, I mean, it signifies a huge amount of new effort and scalability that's going to come through because the community can do it themselves. And so I'm looking forward to we've got the constitution vote, as I said, that's going to go on chain shortly. And we're going to be taking that's a month process unless we hit the thresholds very quickly. And we're going to continue that conversation, of course, over the month. Ken can speak probably better to that than me, sorry, because he's been working on the definitions with others. And then we've got the net change limit, which will be going in parallel. So how much are we comfortable withdrawing from the treasury in a given period? And then obviously that links to the budget and how much we want to fund the future development of Cardano in a bunch of different verticals. So core infrastructure, R&D, innovation like Catalyst, marketing, a ton of different things that we want to do that we need to get out to the community to really review and feedback and give us suggestions and ideas. And ultimately we get to a place where we're moving in the same direction. And sort of that era thing is like, well, we're adding and bolstering those areas, as you said, Sam. I think that's a nice way of looking at it. But we're also laying the framework now for just a sort of different way of doing it. The part of the pillars and the eras are the storytelling behind it. It's the shared vision that you can latch onto. And like, well, this is what Voltaire means. And then you sort of, you anchor to that and then you move forward in that direction. And it might be like this, but you still move forward with that direction. So I can imagine new eras emerging and definitions and names of those eras for sure. But yeah, at the moment, we've got some big decisions to take. And I'm just looking forward to the debate and the discourse. And I know pragmatism will prevail.
Yeah, as a user of the governance tool, and the system was pretty smooth, and we can seamlessly vote and interact and make decision, and it's really as a CC, I also DRAP and SPOs, and the system itself is very pretty sorted out, I think. But at the same time, we are just need more like delegate rate improvement. Like I think I'm not quite sure the exact number, but quite few percentage of the stake delegated at this moment. So as a previous conversation with I'm seeing the Shelly. At the time, I always remember that Charles at the beginning of the Shelly era. Charles quoted the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and it says, "I was benevolent and good. Misery made me a friend. Make me happy, and I shall again be virtuous." Like it was like a very strong quote to me, and like if you remember about the story of Frankenstein, the people hate and ignorant about Frankenstein because of his look, but that makes good monster became like a cruel, unstoppable monsters. So as that means this ignorance is a most dangerous situation, like to like leads to self-destruction. And if you think about the end of the Frankenstein, and I always remember that story, like and also quote whenever I see the GovTool and delegation rate, and we have to always check and care about our governance. Otherwise, we're gonna lead to self-destruction. So I mean, the tool itself is a very beautifully designed, and I really appreciate it. But we have to interact people as interact aid holders to participate in the governance. Right? My thing. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, very, very well said, Hicks. I think to build on your point in the question about power dynamics, there was a constitutional law professor, Eric Olson, who we consulted in some of the early design of the processes, and he was fond of saying governance is a dumpster fire, and good governance is when the dumpster stays in the fire. I mean, when the fire stays in the dumpster, sorry. And what I mean by that is we actually expect the governance system to be a conduit for conflict to happen. And going forward, we're going to see those changing power dynamics play out, but also expect that to be productive conflict. And so when you see disagreements happening through the system, different power blocks forming and competing for resources, that is kind of when you're going to see the real success of the system, that people are participating through the tools that they have available in front of them.
Hey, so what I wanted to add to this is that I like to look at these governance actions as our initial settings, right? Initial parameters that you could only foresee the future so far, standing from where we are. Kind of like, there was in the 1940s, we were looking at, listen to the radio. And then from the radio, we moved to TV. But nothing from that point to that next point we could have not foresee what the TV will look like today, right? So at first we had a TV with a black and white and just a few little channels, right? And as the needs grew and the possibilities grew, we started realizing that maybe just having 4 channels in there wasn't enough, or having color. Now we needed to change the tones. And I feel like the same thing is going to happen here, right? Eventually we're going to start seeing the need to be able to dig deeper into some of these things. But right now, those are the parameters that allow for us to navigate this and learn how to work together in a safely way, that we don't, sabotage our own efforts. And, we have our self-sustainability that's definitely all tied into this. And I've already heard a lot of groups talking about, we need parameters that drilled a little bit more into like how we handle a treasury so I think that with time, we're probably going to see more as we get more expert, we develop more experts in all this tiny little in the intricacies of the chain that, we need more leaders and people understanding all these little places that will take on their challenges to develop their own little ecosystem within, right? That now it's going to need its own parameters. It's kind of like how we see in Intersect, right? You get more committees, and then it's like, okay, now this is no longer okay to be under this. We should now look at it as its own thing. And I think there's going to be a time where we're going to look at this parameters, where this governance action is like, remember when we only had 7, and it's going to be down the road, of course. Right now, this is how it is. But I foresee this community growing so much faster. And they say that it usually takes about however long it takes us to reach 10% of adoption in something, then it's going to take the same amount to reach from 10% to 100%, right? So I feel like whatever it took us to get here right now, it's going to take us the same amount to do 10 times what we're doing today. So it's really exciting to me.
Excellent. Yeah, this is all phenomenal. I think the intersection here, we see the dynamics, sort of the meta dynamics that we're anticipating. These are happening on smaller scales. And so all of these working groups, all of these organizations, we see how people with different interests, with different backgrounds come together and end up making decisions. And it's always tough, and it always requires listening, compromises, and ultimately, like I alluded to earlier, the output isn't exactly what any one person anticipated, but it usually is a better product. And so the canary in the coal mine, right? If things were not going well with governance, there would be, no controversy. That would not be a good sign. Controversy is productive. There's certain kind of controversy that's productive, but that's a sign that the system is alive, and that ideas are being discussed and decisions are being made that take into account all the different perspectives. So as a microcosm of this, it's been fantastic working with this delegate committee to work on definitions. Has been the preeminent task that we've been working on over the 8 weeks between the Constitution was approved by delegates, right, December 5th of last year to yesterday. And just a few metrics on that. So 6 synchronous workshops, numerous asynchronous feedback tools, over 65 voting delegates, traveling alternate delegates, technical and legal experts, intersect committee and staff members, interim constitutional committee members, and over 500 hours among everybody to participate in this. So this is a microcosm of what happens on the larger scale. And I guess I would just add one more point related to what Hicks was saying in terms of how power is distributed and how we hope to see decentralization increase going forward, particularly in interbranch centralization. And I think looking at the different eras or pillars, we have a great parallel between Byron and Shelley. So we couldn't go straight to a decentralized system of SPOs, right? We needed that federated network first. We needed that sort of bootstrapping period to lay the groundwork. And I think the same thing it could be said to be true for governance as well right now. So we have a lot of experts, a lot of passionate people that are pitching in and trying to make the system safe and productive. And what we can do is invite more people in, develop more experts, develop more voices, and over time, perhaps that decentralization will increase, both as a whole and in between the branches. Ultimately, we are the most decentralized blockchain, hands down. But the thing is, we don't compare ourselves against the people that are behind us. We set goals and targets for what we could be, and then we work together to meet those.
Wow, beautifully said there. Beatrice. You're muted, Beatrice.
There we go. Very beautiful said. And I just wanted to give my flowers to Ken and the delegates team for the work that they've been laying out for the past few weeks. I joined the definitions workshop yesterday very late, but I could see what we're talking about here, like a dynamic ecosystem that is working together, because, this group formed during the Constitutional Convention, and people just came together and said, this is a task that we want to tackle together, and we want to make sure that we have something that the CC, the ICC, and everybody can use when making their decisions. And I think that's very beautiful. And of course, there were some disagreements, and you're not always going to be happy, like Ken mentioned. But I think coming together and making sure that we make a product that we all agree on is the best way moving forward. Sorry.
No, perfectly said there, Beatrice. Absolutely. Just for the sake of time, I do want to hear from whoever really has some closing comments. And Jack, I did ask you, of course, if you have some closing thoughts. I also would love to hear from you, Nicholas. Basically, everyone on the panel. Any closing thoughts? You perfectly said that. Explain that, Jenny, in terms of the organic changes that would occur over time and that we should look forward to. But I'd also love to hear the perspectives from others in terms of, hey, how do you look towards the future? Jack.
Yeah, thanks, Denisha. I suppose I could start with some call to actions and how to get involved, because that's always a nice thing to take away from these kind of calls. So, as I mentioned, the delegate endorsed constitution will be hitting mainnet on-chain very shortly. And that's the first time DREPs are going to be voting with the ICC to ratify that, if indeed they choose to ratify it during the next sort of 6 epochs, depending on when we hit the thresholds. Now, to get involved in this process, obviously, when we submit the governance action on chain, you can read all of the metadata that will be accompanying that. Obviously, that's the constitution itself, but also there'll be the definitions that are a new supporting material that maybe Ken could briefly speak to. Sorry, Ken, but it might be useful to quickly mention what that could look like. And if you haven't delegated to a DREP, we've said this a lot, but there's about, I think, 5.6 billion ADA delegated currently to DREPs. That's about 25% of staked supply. There is a big chunk of that 5.6, just for full transparency, a big chunk of that is delegated to auto abstain. This may be something that you don't know you've actually delegated to auto abstain, which was in my case that happened to me. So go into your wallet, double check if you have been delegated to auto abstain already. You may have done this if you switched stake pools recently. So go in and have a look and make sure you are delegating to whatever DREP or auto abstain, or register to be a DREP yourself to vote directly. And importantly, you can move your delegation around, every epoch. So it's super flexible and what we call liquid democracy. So that's a big call to action. Delegate your ADA. You can go to gov.tools to do so, and you can connect various wallets, including hardware wallets, through Eternal and other compatible wallets. It's really important, and a shout out to Adam Dean and the Space Place guys yesterday. One of the big call outs there is to make sure that you're delegating and connecting to the right places. This is an important place whenever you're connecting your wallet to anything, that you are double checking what you're connecting to. So it's gov.tools is the sort of official Cardano gov tool at the moment. Please connect there and get involved. The next thing that will be coming sort of next week, potentially possibly the week after, just still working that through, will be the net change limit. So what do we as a community want to withdraw as a maximum in a given period, which will be about a year, from the Treasury to fund development of Cardano. The Treasury is about $1.6 billion, give or take, depending on the price every day. There's roughly $1.6 billion now. And the Treasury is projected to grow, if we did nothing, projected to grow by 350 million ADA in 2025. So we could spend 350 million ADA this year on development of Cardano and still protect the core Treasury value at 1.6, which is just for me a wonderful, wonderful problem to have. So we should really lean into that, I think. So yeah, that's my call to actions. Just expect a lot of things to hit chain for lots of decisions and discussions. We'll be hosting a lot of X Spaces over the next couple of weeks to bring this out as well. So do follow Intersect, of course, but everyone here on the call will be resharing and being part of those conversations too. Thanks, Denisia.
Yeah, so to add on to that some, so the processes are awesome. The tools we've built are amazing. We have everything ready there to put it together. But I think what we really need is a strong community-owned vision and the roadmap we need to get there and whatnot. Because, I mean, when you start asking for money from the Treasury, it's like, oh, I want $1 million for this, $1 million for that. But if we don't know where we want to get to next, that's a problem. So as chair of the product committee, this is something that we've valued strongly. And we will be working with the community to basically formulate that vision and that roadmap and make sure that it represents everyone in the community, not just one entity, not just one team, but basically make sure that basically includes everything that we need in that Cardano roadmap. So, I mean, that's going to be a huge part of, I think, a lot of the contention we have over the next few months.
Thank you so much there. Thank you so much, Sam. In closing, Nicholas, any closing words?
I mean, right, it's just, again, if we reflect on what happened yesterday with the Plomin Hard Fork and where we're going, I mean, it's so exciting. And if I could say, again, like, what are the 3 things that any ADA holder can do right now? It's to participate in governance. So you can either, as Jack said, delegate to a DREP, or if you want to, and I highly encourage you to do so, to also register as one and participate by yourself. Right? There are a lot of information and great resources available, like the Intersect knowledge base. Their newsletter it's really awesome. It informs you about what's going on. Our explorers like AdaStat, Cardano Scan, C Explorer, they all have governance features enabled, so you can read through the governance actions, the rationales, the details, and look at that. So highly encourage everyone to participate in governance, because at the end of the day, it's now on us as the community to decide Cardano's future. And that's exciting.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you. Einstein.
I also to add, like, in terms of vision, like, there's membership-based organizations. We have Intersect, you can join there, but we also have others, like we have Pragma. They're doing development on nodes, Rust implementation. I just want to acknowledge like this peaceful transition of power that's been part. Like it was not something that was given, but all the people involved in all this development and the people who had the keys that were the control, they handed it over peaceful. They're part of Intersect now. They're proposing a roadmap. But you know what? The coolest thing I think about the Cardano community right now is like we're truly merit-based. There's so many examples of good ideas that get pushed up. And that's the beauty for me. Right now, if you have a good idea, you believe in some opportunity, this field is ripe. Get involved, go to Intersect, go to Pragma, look at some of the organization, contact some of the 3 original, Cardano Foundation, IOG, Emergo. There's so many opportunities. So that's my rally call. The field is open. It's all in the community's hand now. Come join us. Let's make this even more amazing.
And for me, the final word would be like, let's remember, like, governance is not just for those who actively participate. Even if you are not interested in governance, governance is interested in you, you know. It's now our responsibility to ensure the new era of decentralization does not drift back to the centralization. We have to be better than, you know, Charles, ILG, CF, Imago era, you know. We have to surpass the, you know, centralized era with our, you know, community. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I would like to add and encourage more people to start thinking about becoming a part of the Constitutional Committee. It is a known fact that we currently have only 3 community seats, but I know a few of the current seats or the founding entities are gonna move ahead and not become a part of that anymore, which requires us to add more people. So if you are a person who wants to get more involved in this process, and if you feel like this is something that you want to do, I would highly recommend becoming a part of that. I know Intersect, I think, are currently spearheading that that process, so probably reach out to them, but please get involved, become a part of the CC, and we'll be working together a lot in the future.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for this conversation. It's been fantastic today. There's been some words that I've really appreciated, like family and culture, that I think really epitomise Cardano. And while we are going into the era of governance, or the pillar of governance, should I say, we look, you know, we're going to fight. We know how to fight in Cardano. We know how to do it really well. But the point of being a family is that we make up and we still get the right decision at the end of the day. So my only, I guess, call to action, I think I agree with what everybody has said. In addition to Jack's suggestion about getting out there and delegating to a DREP, I want to remind people as well that if you're already delegated, this is called liquid democracy. Okay, if you think your DREP is starting to get a little bit too much voting power, it's real easy to move to another DREP. Okay, so we talked about those pillars before. My favorite's Shelley. Okay, I love decentralization. I think it should be our North Star for everything that we do. Okay, so I've asked a few times on Twitter, do you value decentralization? If so, think about moving to another DREP if yours is getting too powerful. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much there, Phil, and for everyone, and to everyone, of course, for joining today. Philip, Phil, Lewis, Michael, Einstein, Jenny, we have Nicholas Cherney, Ken, Beatrice, and Jack. And we have also Hicks in the background. We'd also like to give a special shout out to Adam Rush, who was here, but unfortunately had an emergency engagement. That's why he was unable to join today. But of course, we do value his contributions and all of his work he has put in leading up to this very special moment. Today, we've spoken about a lot of things. We've covered a lot of topics, mainly about the Plomin Hard Fork, the governance era, but also the call to action. You know, our ecosystem only succeeds as everyone participates. the responsibility of that success is no more in the hands of an entity, one or two, or just a few. It is now fully in the hands of each and every one of you, the Cardano community, ADA holder. So get involved. And if you have any questions, reach out to the people here in the panel, or your SPOs, or even your DREPs. They should be able to help you on your journey or answer your questions. Thank you all. And until the next time, take care.